Okay, this video is going to take you through division and the modulus or remainder operator. And so again, we're going to go relatively quickly. So if you need to pause the video to write notes, then make sure you do that. So here we go. So first of all, I need to pause this myself. So what happens here is we're going to introduce a word first, and that's called operand. An operand would be the numbers or the items that are on both sides of an arithmetic operator. So 8 plus 2, the 8 and the 2 are both operands. When you're subtracting them, 8 and 2 are still operands. The 8 and 2 are operands in every one of these situations. Where in normal math, we call these addends. We have a minuend and a subtrahend. We have factors, and we have dividend and divisor. Okay, so these it's easier in Java because we call them operands. And so the rule is this, is when an operation includes a double, which is a decimal, the result is going to be a double or a decimal. Okay, so if one of the operands, just one or two, one or both, is a double, then the answer has to be a double. So for instance, 10 divided by 6.2, the answer has to be a decimal. Okay, because this is a double, okay, or a decimal. You could have 8.3 divided by 6.1. Well, the answer has to be a double. Okay, that's easy, right? And so here we go to the other rule, is that if an operation includes only ints, the result has to be an int. And so if both operands are ints, all you see is ints, the answer, the result, is going to be an int. And so you might go, okay, well, that's easy. 8 divided by 2, that makes sense. It's 4. Yeah, that's right. How about 11 divided by 5? Now, wait a second. How can that be an int? It looks like it's going to be a decimal if you go 11 divided by 5. But in Java, 11 divided by 5 is not going to be 2.2, like what you would get if you got a calculator. So this 11 divided by 5 has to be an int. As long as one of the operands is a decimal, though, the answer is going to be a decimal. So let's get this here, and let's go to the next one. All right. Oh, no. Timeout. Okay, so here we go. We're back. And so the division, though, is tricky. And this is why we're doing this video. Because division is a little bit tricky. Not impossible, though. So here's the point. The point is, or the first example is, what if the operation includes a double with division? And so if we have, you know, like 7 divided by, 2.0, that's a decimal. That's a double, which is different than 7 divided by 2, as you're going to see, because we said the result of when a double is involved, this has to be a double. So there's going to be a decimal in this result. But an int divided by an int has to be an int. And so again, you're going, well, how is that even possible? All right, and so here's what happens. If the operation includes a double, the result is as you would expect if you used a calculator. So let's take 8 divided by 3.0. Well, what I have in blue here is what you need to remember. If the operation includes a double, use a calculator and keep the decimal. because it's just like it should be. It's normal. This is like regular math that you're used to. All right? Use a calculator, keep the decimal. So, of course, if you did 8 divided by 3.0, you would get 2.6666, and it just keeps on going. Keep the decimal. All right? But what if you only have an int? Only have ints, like 7 divided by 2, or 12 divided by 3. Well, let's say 7. Okay, all of these, if you did these right now in the calculator, you would not get an int. You would get a decimal. And so here's the point. The result must be an int. This has to be an int. In other words, folks, it cannot have a decimal in it. And you're going, that's impossible, because if I use the calculator, I'll get a decimal. Use the calculator, but here's the rule. 8 divided by 3 has to be an int. So if you only have ints, use a calculator, just same as this. Go ahead and use a calculator. Only this time, drop the decimal. Drop it like a hot potato. Drop the decimal. Here it is. Let's put 8 divided by 3 in the calculator. What do you get? You get 2.6666, right? Just like we did up here. It's the same thing. You use the calculator. Now comes the step that's different. Is instead of keeping the decimal, we're going to drop the decimal. And if you were to drop the decimal, what are you left with? You're left with just an int, the 2. So drop the decimal, you get a 2. By the way, the big word here is truncate. Truncate means to cut something off. And so to drop the decimal is when you truncate it. All right? So drop the decimal. So in other words, 8 divided by 3 is 2. Don't tell your algebra or geometry or algebra 2 teacher that. 8 divided by 3 is 2. 14 divided by 4 is, can you do it? 3. Right? 26 divided by 3 is, can you do it? It's 8. Because it's 8 point something, but you drop the decimal. All right. So we're going to go now to the JGrasp and illustrate this really quickly here. So we have division and demo, and so here is an int, and here is a decimal. And the result is going to be a double. So if you take num1 divided by num2, we should get a decimal. And so we run this thing, and notice we get the 2.6666, right? Okay, so now if we were to take and divide it by an int, so 8 divided by 3, it has to be an int. And so we run that, and notice it gets a 2. Oops, sorry. I did some. Okay, well, here's what I was going to tell you. Let's go like this. Let's show you something that I meant to tell you. If you store an int in a double, it will add a decimal point. It'll go 0.0. Let's look at this. Let's take 8 and let's change this double to a 3. Yo, wait a second. This is an int. Well, the double can handle it. It can take the int. It'll just change it to a 3.0. You can't do this other way around. And so down here, I'm going to print the value of num2. Well, it's just going to say 3, right? No. Watch this. Okay, so notice that It does the division. Because this is a double, then you do the calculator, keep the decimal. But num2, if you print num2, I thought it was 3. Well, because 3 is being stored as a double, and to change it to a double, you just got to add a 0.0. That's what happens. So, if I want to go int divided by int, and I'll change this to an int, and so what happens is it comes up with a 2. All right, so that is the idea with the division. But now let's go back and check out modulus. So in modulus, the modulus is called the remainder operator. So the remainder operator. So well, how's that used? The result of the modulus. So this would be, for instance, 7 modulus 3. So instead of 7 plus 3 divided by 3 or whatever, it's 7 modulus 3. And so the result is the remainder of the division problem. So this is looking for the remainder of 7 divided by 3. Let's illustrate that. Let's say we have 8 modulus 5. What that means is what is the remainder of the division problem, 8 divided by 5. And so this is where you have to be able to do this kind of division. 8 divided by 5. So when you first learned division, you didn't carry out decimals. You went 8, 5 goes into 8 once. 1 times 5 is 5. You subtracted. And since we are done with the number, we just go 1 remainder 3. Well, the modulus, the result is the remainder. So the answer is the 3. It doesn't care about the 1. So 8 divided by 5 is 8 remainder 3. Well, actually that's 1 remainder 3. So 8 divided by, or 8 modulus 5 is 3. 8 divided by 5 is 1, but 8 modulus 5 is 3. One more problem. 11 modulus 5. So let's change this to modulus. You take the division, 11 divided by 5. 5 goes into 11 twice. It has 1 remaining, so it's 2 remainder 1. So all the modulus cares about is the 1, because it's saying what is the remainder of 11 divided by 5. So that's what it's going to return. And so just really quickly here then, let's change this to modulus. Just do one example here. Num1 modulus num2. So 8 modulus 3. We said, well, we didn't say anything yet. Let's change this to 5. This should be 1 remainder 3, so the answer should be 3. So we'll clear this. We'll compile it. We run it, and you see what it prints is the 3. It doesn't say anything about 5 going into 8 one time. All it cares about is that there's a remainder of 3. All right, so that's division and modulus in Java.